Hello and welcome back. If you're new, I'm Deirdre, and if you're not, then thank you. Thank you for being here, for turning up again after I had abandoned you for so long. And after last week's video, I was just blown away by the extraordinary comments, just saying, wow, what a group of women you all are. It's fantastic. The response was amazing, humbling, no doubt about that. And I'm just delighted that you're still around. You know, that's sort of huge for me. Now, as usual, it's going to be usual, I'm afraid. I am about to head out to work, so a cup of tea in hand, because I've got to get my voice working. And today I want to talk about, let's have a bit of a start off to our midlife reset 2024. Funny how the story goes, little hope but bigger dreams. So where am I going to start? Well, I think that the most important thing in any sort of reset, anything where you're trying to find a purpose, a goal, a direction, it's, I think, called wayfinding. And I'm going to have to actually read this because I forget his name. I saw this in a book by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans, and it's called Designing Your Life. And one of the things that they talk about in wayfinding is that you have to put yourself out into a direction even before you know what your destination is. Now, that sounds a bit silly, doesn't it? It's like starting a road trip without knowing where you're going. But if you know where you're going is somewhere to the north, then you're not going to start driving down to the south, that sort of thing. So if you know your general idea, then the idea is that we start moving towards it to get ourselves sort of underway, because action in itself is an incredibly positive and motivating thing. So how do we start out this process of a bit of a reset to get ourselves energized and underway for the rest of the year? And I think, look, most of us are women here in this little community, tiny little community of ours. And I think for a lot of us, as we move into an older demographic, we put sort of blocks in our own way and say, oh, I wish that, or I'm too old for, you know what I mean, all those little things we say in our heads. I honestly believe that it is never too late to stop dreaming and start doing. Now, the dreams can be wonderful. The doing is the difficult part, obviously. And sometimes you'll say, oh, but my dream was to be an oceanographer, or to dance with a ballet, or something that's probably not going to happen. And I'm not saying that it's not, but what I am saying is that those big dreams, you need to actually get down to what it was that you were feeling, what it was that you really, really wanted from that. Often the name of the dream isn't actually the feeling that you wanted from that dream. For example, if the thing was that you would have loved to have been an oceanographer and, been part of a movement to repair our oceans, yes, that's the name of a job. But you don't have to actually do that in order to get some of that feeling from what you had wanted to do. For example, you can literally get yourself a bag, recyclable, obviously, and when you walk along a beach or a river, you pick up the trash as you go. And that is already a contribution. All of these small things that we can do are actually part of that feeling that you might have had when you were younger, when you wanted to be an oceanographer. I know. Was it my dream? It kind of almost was, actually. Really long, long way back. But anyway, so that's what I mean. Find the feeling that goes with the dream, and that's already starting to point you along the direction. And so what I'm going to be talking about through this is finding our way through finding a direction that will be wide and broad at the beginning, but narrow down and down and down until we can find something that is much more related to purpose and the well-being and the direction and the steps that we can take to get ourselves to that place, whatever it is. Now, like so many things in life, it's really, really hard to do much if you don't have your health. So for me, I'm going into winter as in a couple of days because, hey, I'm in Melbourne, Australia. Any sort of reset has to start with making sure you're in the best possible health and have the best possible outlook to go forward into it. And so for me, I'm going to start out, sorry, I've got competition from a very noisy bird. I've got the door open. And yeah, so I'm going to start out with working on my own health and being a little bit more disciplined about certain things, and then that will be the basis for going forward in this wayfinding process. So to build our health, it's first things first, of course. Walking. It's obvious we know how to do it. We've been doing it for quite a long time. Outside every day, for body, health, brain, spirit. And if you can get your bare feet onto the grass, if that works where you are, or onto some sand, even if you can just have a minute or so, just, a nice little safe space, wriggling your toes in the grass, that's a really good, healthy thing to do. Then, of course, the daily 25. This is mostly around the internet called the daily 50. And I thought, hey, I'm going to start slow. Maybe by July or August it'll be the daily 50, but right now I'm perfectly happy if I do 25 of these things a day. So the first one is 25 little push-ups. Now this can be against a counter or a wall. I'm not talking about the ones from the floor that you do when you're really strong. Whatever works for you. 25 body squats. Once again, sit back, sit up and down off a chair. If that's what you can do, if you can squat all the way into a sumo squat and come back up again without hurting your knees, that's also great. So that's another one. Lunges, the good old lean, step forward, bend the knee, and then push and come forward again. Lunges, just Google all of these if you can't, if you're not being the person who does them at all. A 25-second wall sit, these are beasts. You have to pretend you're sitting on a chair, only the chair's not there and you've got your back to the wall. These are hard, and if you can do 10 seconds, it's great. And then a 25-second plank. Now, planks, that nice on your elbows, on your elbows and toes, basically. And if you can hold yourself, just Google all of this. Google the daily 25 or daily 50, and these will all come up. Now, the next one is where I fall down all the time, meal planning. I know that I need to eat lots more protein than I have been, because as we age, our ability to absorb protein and build and maintain muscle mass does become more difficult. It doesn't mean we can't do it, it just means it's more difficult. So we need more protein as well as those little workouts that we're doing. Now that for me means meal planning, because I work full time and I also work funny hours. So for me it means I have to plan ahead. This is a big one for me. So any ideas, feel free. I know what I ought to be doing, but I'm not doing it. And I think that sort of fits for many of us for lots of these things. Now, before I go, there's one more thing, and this is almost like prep for the next video. It's time to journal, and I've just got 2 little prompts here that might help you get underway. Now, the 2 journaling prompts are ones you've probably seen before. The first one is, what would you do if you couldn't fail? If you knew you couldn't fail? This is the ultimate dream with the lid off. Just sit down and write out as quickly as possible, sort of 10 things that you would love to do if you knew there was no chance that you could fail. If money was no object, if you could not fail, and you would just go and do these things. That's the first one. Okay, so I want you to come back next week with all of this here. The next one is the tough one. What would you do if you knew you'd fail? I know, it's really hard, this one. What would I care about enough that even if it would not be a financial success, even if I knew in the end that I would not, succeed in a way that I measured success, what would I do anyway? I think the one that comes to mind for me and for a lot of people is, I'd write a book, because I think there is so much to be learned from the process of actually gritting out a whole book. I mean, this is a huge thing, but planning it out, writing it out, developing characters, is so much that we could, and maybe you, could learn from this as well. That the process would be the joy, even if I knew it wouldn't be the next Harry Potter or anything. To be honest, that I knew it was never going to be published. Would I still do it? And I think the answer for me in that one would be yes. So I'd love to hear what you think. Do you think this is going to be of use? But get that journal out. Get out some paper, anything. This is not fancy notebook territory. This can be a kid's school book from the supermarket that costs nothing almost. And just write things out. Start playing with this idea. Think about your meal planning. That's me, remember. I've got to start meal planning, and hey, I've got a couple of days to organise this before June begins. But let's get underway and start moving ourselves in the direction, this wide direction that we're hoping can then narrow right down. so that we can get a benefit from all of this. I hope this makes sense to you. I hope it, opens up some ideas, gets you a little bit excited for the next, half of the year. And I'd love to hear what you think about it, what you would want to do. And once again, can I just say thank you to all of you who've watched, who've come back, despite the fact that I've been missing for so long, and who have left such astonishing comments. I have read everyone. I have been delighted to see you all. Some very good old friends there and some very nice new ones. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, take care, stay well, have some fun, and get out that journal, and let's see what we're going to do for the next few months. Okay, lots of love, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.